Good evening, football fans. I don't even know what to do anymore. I'm just going to try out various villain voices. Ooh, look at that alliteration right there. That was three V's. Until something finally happens. And because our coach sucks so much, I might have to wait till 2025 before I finally get anything right. But anyway, enough of the old, or enough of the new and in with the old. I'm Ty, joined by Matt, as always. Let's get into things. First of all, in my Vikings voice that you may remember from Tom Grossi, I'm gonna bring back one of his characters that he seems to have forgotten about. Tom Grossi. And I would just like to say that our performance was not a performance. It was a giant piece of bleep on national bleep television. Nobody from the team showed up except for two players. Our special teams ace gunner, Najee Thompson. Credit to him for the only turnover of the game, the forced fumble on a kickoff or punt return or something like that. And Ty Chandler, our running back, who we took the ball away from after the first quarter because we were down by so many points. So, when your whole team quits on you, that kind of speaks to your coaching style. Nobody came to play for you today, Kevin O'Connell, because throughout these last few weeks, you, Kevin O'Connell, could have won games. So we weren't in this situation. But yet you, Kevin O'Connell, still decide to stick with the same stupid plays and trying to force quarterbacks into being people who they're not. Josh Dobbs is a mobile quarterback, best playing on the edge of his seat, nothing to carefree football, backyard football, and you turn him into a pocket passer. That's not good. Then you take Nick Mullins. You know, for every good play he makes, there's one or two turnovers that comes with it. You don't bench him, even though you said at the beginning of the year, if players are going to turn the ball over, we're going to find people who are going to replace them. No, you didn't do it. You're not a man of your word. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I could say about that game, but honestly, just nobody came to play. That's just the reality of it, and it showed how much the team had given up at that point. We just had nobody ready. They just did not want it because they've seen the coach just hand away games. And I get it. So I'm hoping we lose big next week, get the best draft pick we can. Also, our GM can probably just go spend it on a safety or a wide receiver, like a position we don't need. So, hopefully he actually does better with the draft this year. But honestly, like the coaching's got to get better, or we have to wait till 2025 and we can finally fire him. I don't know anymore. I loved him at the beginning of last year, but then you started to see just how much was covered up by luck or by great playmaking by certain individuals at crucial moments. The JJ catch in Buffalo, Patrick Peterson's interceptions in Buffalo, like things of that nature. And now you're looking at it and it's just like, yeah, when luck's not on your side, you kind of suck. So, and even last season, we got blown out by some teams too. And there was just no fight against the adversity. And he preaches how good the team is against adversity. BS. So, yeah. Um, all I want to say to Vikings fans, my entire message overall, like I said last week, this is not on Jaron Hall. You shouldn't have expected much from Jaron Hall. If you did, then you were drinking the purple Kool-Aid. And I know grape can be a great flavor. So, I don't mind. But
Bro,
but I mean like it's madness to think that a fifth round rookie is going to come in there and light it up, even against the Packers defense that's given up so much this year, especially when their offensive line doesn't block. Their receivers are covered really well. And you don't have your safety net in TJ Hawkinson anymore because he was hurt last week. So, I mean, yeah. Jaren Hall did as good of a job as he could do. Neither of his turnovers were on him. None of them. His first one hit his tight end in the hands, bounced off of him, interception. Christian Darrisaw, arguably one of the best left tackles in the league after Trent Williams, decides just not to block. And I think it was Rashawn Gary or Preston Smith, one of the two, just blows by him, strip sacks Jaren Hall on the blind side. I wouldn't put that on Jaren Hall. So, I mean, yeah, don't put that loss on him. The lights were too big. He should have been starting weeks ago, and maybe then the week wouldn't have been too big for him. But I honestly don't have anything else to say because it shouldn't have even gotten to this point. And like I said, at some point we're going to be too injured to continue. We finally got there. We're too injured to continue, and our team has officially given up because of that and bad coaching. So here we are, hoping we lose big next week. Over to you, Matt.
Just to let you know how your 2023 went, January 1st, 2023, you got blown out by the Packers. December 31st, 2023, you got blown out by the Packers. So that's probably a summation of how your year's gone. Um, Sorry for the shot there. Just found that whole stat funny.
I mean, honestly, though, when you look at the every year, no matter where the Vikings and Packers play, they always split, and the Vikings always win the game that's played first.
Fair.
The Packers always win the game that's played later in the year, no matter where it is. Because you would think the Packers would always win their home game in Lambeau at the end because we usually always play in Lambeau at the end. But even the weeks we don't play in Lambeau at the end, like I don't know why. Minnesota wins first, then Green Bay wins every year.
Unless you land on Aaron Rodgers' collarbone and kick him out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
Um,
well, to be fair, he shouldn't have walked into a bar.
that that's horrible. That no, no, you don't get that one.
Hey, it's a legal hit, and you laughed. So
Um,
he wasn't
yeah.
even flagged for the hit. That's the funny thing. He wasn't even flagged. But that's
Well, that's
but
what
that's
caused all the flags, Tyler.
but no, yeah, just because you can't hit the quarterback. When
You can't land full body weight on the quarterback,
yeah, because
even though you
but
can do
still,
that to
like
every other player on the field.
expecting a defensive lineman or a linebacker in this case, but Anthony Barr does both. It doesn't really matter. To be able to stop instantaneously when he gets the ball, it's not feasible. So
Knowing there was a
I've
Detroit
never
player that
liked
could
those
have had a
calls.
safety on that touchdown for Dallas, who was too scared to land on Dak Prescott and just
Mhm.
ran by him.
Yeah.
Good job, NFL.
It's gonna be flag football soon. I'm just trying to enjoy the years before that happens.
Well, the Olympics is already trying to bring flag football in.
Yeah,
The
I
whole
don't
world
know.
about to be dominated by the USA.
I like
Ain't
my
nobody
sport.
ready for that.
I like my sport. But anyway, talk about your game and then we'll talk about any of the games you feel like we want to bring up. But I feel like we all know the one we want to bring up.
Only thing I have to say about this game, because it's not about the game, because I really don't want to talk about this game, because 150 yards at halftime, just rushing the ball is stupid. all I gotta say, Sean Payton's a pansy, and that's all I gotta say about all that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember there. I was at. For those of you who don't know, we actually do have lives outside of the podcast, and I was attending a wedding with my girlfriend, and I get what appears to be a very serious text asking me if I can talk from Matt, and I'm over here like, dude just found out something bad. Dude just like
I'm
something
dying.
big happened. Dude, yeah, like family members in the hospital.
It's been fun.
Something happened, right? I'm like, dude, what's going on? I'm here, but I could step out, man. The ceremony already happened. Like, what's going on? He's like, nah, I just wanted to talk about Sean Payton being a donkey.
A hole.
I'm just like, oh, well, yeah, I could have told you that. Everybody since 2009 could have told you that too. So,
So I did say in the text, I was talking about him in the text before that, about Sean Payton. So that's kind of on you.
not when you were mad, because the way the text was, it was like, it
It was
was
literally
serious,
like right
man.
after I was complaining about Sean Payton.
I was at the wedding longer than that. Unless I didn't see, unless like I didn't see it for a while. But all good. But
When was
yeah,
that?
he is. Anyway,
Oh, it was
regardless of that,
basically. Oh, yeah. It was like 30 minutes later.
yeah. And I probably didn't read it till like hours later.
You didn't read it till, yeah, around 2 hours later.
Yep.
Whatever. Also,
Yeah.
Detroit, you blew it.
Huh. uh all I gotta say is I've been talking about the refs all year, and here's a hot take. I don't mind Detroit. Like, I can hate on players like Kirby Joseph, who took out TJ Hawkinson. I can hate on Kirby Joseph. I don't hate Detroit. In
I don't
fact,
think that's a hot
Dan
take.
Campbell is probably my favorite coach in the league.
I don't think that's a
Not gonna
hot
lie.
take, but
I mean, like, I love hearing his passion and hearing him talk. Like, he is a true football player because
you
he
would
used
run
to
through a
play.
wall for that man.
Exactly. And that's what you want in a coach. You want a tough ass dude who's gonna go out there and play, and he's gonna get your team fired up. He's gonna get angry at losing. He's gonna get hyped when you win, and he's gonna really praise tough football. And that's who you want in a coach. And so that's why he's my favorite coach in the league. I really do think that they're gonna be a powerhouse for as long as he's there. So, assuming their front office can still scout people. So, with the Lions, you kind of never know. They're kind of like a mix of the Vikings and the Bears. Sometimes they have good years, and then sometimes they just really go complete other directions. So, um, but no, I mean they're 0-6 in games called by Brad Allen. Is that his name? The ref of that game.
I think
They're
that's
0 and
yeah.
6 in games of called by that referee. Like that says something. And the fact that again, it just goes to the fact that there needs I get the one time they choose to be consistent is when they just assume that because they've been running 70 is
Yeah.
eligible for all these plays, they just go, "Oh, well, he's obviously doing it again." Like,
Because
no, in
70
order to
wasn't even on the
report.
field yet before they turned, or he was running onto the field before he even
No,
turned.
he was running to the ref along with 68.
Well, 68 was already there with another player.
Yeah. So they were all so he just assumed it was 70. But in order to report, you have to tell the ref, "Hey, I'm reporting." And Stan Skipper never did that. So it makes perfect sense. Um, why they're mad at Detroit, and I'm glad that we're not football players in the NFL because we can actually talk bad about the refs. You could see in all the press conferences, like Jared Goff was saying, like, I'll probably get fined for this, but I don't agree with the call. I don't think that's even something that he's going to get fined for because he's not talking bad about the refs. He's saying he doesn't agree. That's different. But Dan Campbell was asked about it, and you could see the rage in his face, but he didn't say anything about the refs. He
You
just
saw
said
it
we
on the
lost.
field, though. You
I'm
didn't see
angry.
it in the
Oh
press
yeah.
conference. You saw that on the field.
Oh yeah. Because he had told them before the entire game, if we get down to the situation, this is what I'm gonna do. Like when you tell the refs what you're gonna do in that situation, you would think that they would actually know or at least listen to your players. When like it's just you have to hire full-time refs. I've said that all season. You have to make this their full-time job. If you have another job and you're a referee, you deserve to be fired. I don't even care if you've been one of the average ones this year. You need to be a full-time referee and you need to do nothing but coach or not coach, ref football games.
But
Because
then they need
if you
to
you
up the pay
can't,
though to make that
yes,
able.
I agree. But I mean that also comes with it being full time. I think that's what makes it if they're full time officials, they'll get paid more because then they theoretically work more. That the hours that they don't really spend, with the games during the off season, make them do film study, make them do all the rule changes and everything. Like make them read all those books and everything. Like they literally make it school for them in the off season. Like it should be pretty easy. Have them
Like a
go
month
coach
during the summer.
college games, like little league, whatever you can do, right? Like you've got to get people in there and start training them so that way years down the line you don't keep running into these issues. And again, it's really just consistency. It really is, and just following the rules. Because again, the rules say you have to listen to a player and report as eligible. He didn't do that. He ran away from the people running to like that's the other thing. Who runs away from players trying to come talk to you? It makes no sense. Like that, I don't understand it. And throughout this season, they've been so inconsistent with all their calls. Just at this, it's to the point where again, we've talked about this many times before. If you're gonna let the guys play it out, let them play it out the whole game. Don't call some nitpicky call at the end if you've not been calling it all game, like a little hold or a push off or anything like that. If you've not been calling any of it all game, don't call it at the end. But if you've been calling it throughout the game, then call it. Because then okay, it's been called throughout the game. I should have known not to push off, or I should have known not to hold. There you go. Easy. You can't really hold it against the players if it's been called all game, but you can hold it against the refs if it's not been called all game, and then they call it at the end and it costs you the game. That is the difference. Especially when you can look back on literally all the film and see different instances in which it should have been called if it wasn't throughout the game. So again, consistency and full-time refs that are paid more than what refs are paid now is what the league needs because you have to have improvement and you have to have consistency with the refs or you're going to continue to have all these conspiracy theories and all these fans who are just angry.
Aaron
Honestly,
Rodgers.
I'm surprised we haven't seen a bottle gate for the refs. Like, I'm honestly very surprised that we haven't seen that. But anyway, that's my rant. I'm gonna stop speaking on that game. Matt, did you want to have anything to close with that game?
Campbell, you had 3 shots at it. You get the penalty. I get going for it again if you have a play there, but it gets intercepted. Just take the extra point. Go to overtime. Like there's only so many plays you're going to have for it, and that last play call was not it. Like he was going to be like 2-3 yards short anyway because Kearse was already right there to tackle him, even if he caught it. I
Yep.
understand being aggressive, but there's a point where it's just like you're just being like bullheaded about it. Just take the point. And we've seen a lot of times this year where Detroit keeps going for it, not taking the points, and they get hurt for it. Which I understand is you live by the sword, die by the sword, but Detroit could be easily at or near the 1 seed right now if they've been taking the points at some of the times where they went forward and it fell apart.
Right. I mean, I will say against an offense like Dallas's in Dallas's building. I mean, I get wanting to go for the win instead of overtime because you could lose on the first possession.
Mm.
So I mean, I get that one, but back on your 7, I would have kicked it. Or sorry, back on the Cowboys 7. I would
Yeah.
have kicked it. So that they got bailed out by the penalty. So I get it. Then you're thinking like, oh, we're meant to score this. But the play call wasn't the right one the third time. But then again, why do you have to have 3 different fourth and whatever calls anyway? The first one should have worked.
Well,
So
it's also a game of 60 minutes long. You never know.
yeah.
But I will
So
say, at least it wasn't the same play Alabama ran in the Rose Bowl at the end of that game. If you
correct.
know, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, that about wraps it up for me. Um some upsets, some surprises, but overall, eh.
Also, real quick, for the Denver Los Angeles game, if you look at Jared Stidham and Russell Wilson's stats against the Chargers, they're
They're the
basically the
same.
same.
Yep.
So how about that, Sean Payton? Where's your spark? You only scored 16 points.
I
Where is
don't
it?
know if I don't I I don't know if that's the way to take a shot at Sean Payton. Because that just proves to you that he can get the same out of a quarterback who he's not paying loads of money to.
Well, no,
Than
he
he
said that the offense needed a spark, and this is who he thought could do it.
we all know that's a lie.
Well, yeah, but
Like
now
we
the
know it's
lie
because
is
of the contract, but
official.
then he goes out with a backup and puts up the same numbers Russell Wilson did. To me, that's a win for Sean Payton.
Mm. But even though the
So
stats are around the same, Denver didn't even score as many points as they did at Los Angeles for that game. Like,
right. I'm just saying I just say I wouldn't take the shot there just because I mean it doesn't seem like the right way to take the shot, but he's a douche. And
well, we'll see with this Raiders game. We'll see.
yeah, or just next season. I don't know. Um all right, let's go on to the next week's picks. All right, next week's picks because they don't really matter anymore because
Except
neither
like
of our
half of these
teams
games.
are probably gonna make it. Like my team's like a 1% chance, and Matt's needs the Packers to lose. Do you need the Saints to lose too?
No, just the Packers.
Oh, you have the tiebreaker of the Saints. Okay. Yep. Okay. You need the Packers to lose, and you got to win. So there
And
you
one of
go.
those is not happening.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly. Okay. Um. So let's go through it. Baltimore is resting most of their starters, I believe.
Yep. At
Pittsburgh's
least
been
Lamar
looking
Jackson
really
is
good.
sitting.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's been well. Hold on, is it just Lamar?
All I don't know if they're resting everybody, but just Lamar Jackson sitting already and Pittsburgh fighting for their playoff lives. I
Yeah,
don't
and they've been
see.
they've been doing well. I'm gonna keep doing the Steelers.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens will still make it a game. I think that'll still be interesting, but the
Unless they
Steelers,
just rest the entire ones and just put in the twos,
even then, I think Baltimore still makes it a game.
especially at home. But yeah,
Yeah. So, well, I'm gonna roll with the Steelers. Moving on, you've got the Strouds taking on the Colts. Um, give me the Strouds.
yeah, I agree.
All right. Um, Next you have Cleveland, who is also sitting their starters against the Bengals. They're sitting their starters, so give me the Bengals.
Same.
You have probably the worst coach team ever against the Detroit Lions. Give me the Lions.
I don't know if Detroit's going to be sitting their starters.
They're not.
Well, but here's the thing: Minnesota's fighting for their lives right now. Detroit, I think, is pretty much locked at the 3. They
We were
might be
also
able to get
fighting for our lives last week, but the team didn't show up for our coach. I don't think they will this week either.
but Detroit's defense also sucks.
And the Packers didn't by giving up 30 points to the Panthers.
Well, they sure look like a Pro Bowl caliber defense on that.
They look like a Pro Bowl caliber defense against Minnesota.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But
So,
eh, I see
but
Minnesota
but the
fighting for
week
their
before that,
lives.
they gave Bryce Young the best game of his career.
Well, let me finish. Detroit, I think, is going to be still upset from that game last week. Now they could totally come out and curb stomp you because of that,
That's what I'm
or
expecting.
make mistakes and it leads to you being able to upset them. So I have Minnesota.
Yeah, I am gonna say Detroit beats Minnesota by a whopping amount.
Over under 15.
Um, we'll see. Actually, knowing Minnesota, we'll give up the most points to Detroit, but we'll also score a lot on them. So it'll be like, yeah, sure, they set the NFL record, but we also like made it close. But of course, we have to lose the highest scoring game of all time. So it's like, yeah, we'll probably lose what, like 77. That I think that would break the NFL record. 77 to I don't know, 40, something like that. I don't know if 40 is a good number to pay. 42, sure. I don't know. That's probably way overdoing it, but I mean, our defense doesn't look like it can stop crap. Didn't fare well against the Lions last time. Um, but I mean, I don't know. If there's a case to be made, Nick Mullins played well against the Lions last time, and for not for that last turnover, we would have won the game. So, I
Hard to
mean,
beat a team twice. Unless
yeah,
you're the Seahawks and then you lose everything twice.
I guess, yeah.
Rams
Um,
and 49ers, but whatever.
yeah. I'm gonna pick the Lions still though. Anyway, are you picking Vikings or Lions?
Vikings. All right, I said that.
Why? You're killing yourself, dude.
I know. I want the pick, Tyler. Give
You
me
want to
the
be
pick.
wrong? Okay. You want to be wrong. I got it. All right. Jacksonville against Tennessee. Is Trevor Lawrence back? No, it doesn't matter. The Jaguars have found themselves again. I'll take Jacksonville. Plus, I don't even know if Levis is gonna play.
Yeah, Tennessee is collapsed. Going with Jacksonville.
Next, we have potentially Bill Belichick's last game with the Patriots. I see him ending with a win. The only reason I'm saying this is because it's Bill Belichick versus the Jets.
Patriots
His
try to get that
record
draft pick though.
his record against the Jets is near impeccable.
I'm going with the Jets because Patriots need that draft pick.
They do, but Belichick's also going to want to leave with the win and a giant middle finger to Kraft, who wants him gone. So, all right. Next, we've got Atlanta at New Orleans. Give me New Orleans. They've
Yeah,
found the late streak, I guess, on whatever you want to call it. And then on that same token, give me Tampa Bay, who's going to bounce back against Carolina because most teams bounce back against Carolina.
And then Tampa Bay, after getting absolutely curb stomped by New Orleans last week, somehow wins the division.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be two 9-8 teams that win the division. Or they're not that win the division. Two 9-8 teams that make the playoffs in the NFC. So,
Yeah. But I have New Orleans winning. Atlanta got absolutely curb stomped by the Bears last week. There was a lot of curb stompings last week.
watch the Packers and the Seahawks both lose and the Saints jump you and get in. And two teams from the NFC South make the playoffs.
We'll get there when we get there. But yeah, I have New Orleans winning, and then I have Tampa Bay bouncing back against bouncing back against Carolina.
There you go. All right, Chicago taking on Green Bay. Um, I don't know. Green Bay always beats the Bears. I feel like this is the best chance the Bears have of actually upsetting the Packers. But I said that week one as well. So yeah, the Packers played great against the Vikings. Then again, that team didn't show up, and the Bears have been looking great lately. You know what? Screw it. I'll pick the Bears.
I'm going with the Bears. DJ Moore about to have himself a game. Um, Packers like choking on their lights. They have another chance to go to the playoffs. Same
Mhm.
story twice.
All right,
Riders get
Denver
lazy on
at
this one.
yep, Denver at Las Vegas. Give me the Raiders to go 500 under Antonio Pierce,
Colts just
or
smacked the
not
Raiders
500,
last
but
week.
almost 500.
Colts just smacked the Raiders last week. The Broncos are not the Chargers defense or the offense. I'll be going with the Broncos just because Sean Payton's going to go 9-8, and that's going to make their draft pick better. Right now, I'm just going for draft pick positioning. So, yeah,
Oh
Denver, I'm
yeah, I'm
coming for
I'm
that
rooting.
quarterback.
I'm almost rooting entirely against my picks this week, but I don't I don't really much care. I'm just picking who I think's gonna win for the pick'ems, as you should. All right, Philly at the Giants. Um, I
It would
mean,
be funny.
it would be really funny, and honestly, they should have done it last time they played. But give me the Eagles. They
Yeah.
they should win, and they just announced they're gonna feed AJ Brown. So if they actually do that, they'll win. So
I feel like after last week, the Cardinals, Philadelphia is going to come into this one very conservative. Um, Usually, I'd say that would probably bring the upset team to give them the chance. Not this week. New York's just not that good of a football team, and we'll see it again this week. Going with Philadelphia.
yep, you got Seattle at the Cardinals. Give me Seattle.
Now,
The Cardinals will probably win the game, but I want Seattle to win. And Seattle's the better team. So,
are we sure about that?
yeah.
Eh, I would love for Seattle to win and go back to 9-8 for another season, because that at least means even if we don't make the playoffs, we still want 500 over 500. But something about Arizona at the end of the year, man. They usually get us once, especially week 17 or I guess week
Actually,
18.
yeah, you know what? I am picking the Cardinals. I forgot about the Cardinals ruining playoff hopes for teams. That's like their specialty.
Well, there was one year that we were going to get to 10 wins, and that was a big thing for that team. And we were
There
playing
was
the
another year
Cardinals.
way back in the day when we needed to beat the like 3-win Cardinals to get into the playoffs, and they beat us
Oh yeah, that
in
sucked.
Min-
Suck.
in
Um,
Minnesota. So the Cardinals do it every year, dude.
well, no, what I was trying to say is there was one year that we were supposed to get to 10 wins if we beat the Cardinals. We were just eliminated in that fourth quarter, so the big thing was still getting the 10 wins. And we lost.
Yeah.
It'll happen again. The defense sucked miserably last week. Um, Offense fell apart after a very good first half. I was really impressed by how Seattle was looking offensively the first half after pretty rough outings in the previous first two halves. One was with Drew Lock against the Eagles, where he didn't know he was going to play till like 30 minutes earlier. So
Mm.
understandable. And then you had the Russ with Gino. So seeing the offense finally get back to it last week against a good defense like the Steelers. Then we got to the second half and it completely collapsed. The defense is still hot garbage. I don't know if it's scheming. I don't know if it's the players. For some reason, we had Mike Jackson on George Pickens for the most one of the most important plays of the game. Because why not? Because I don't know, we had a All Pro corner or not All Pro, Pro Bowler corner on the field, and we weren't having him guard George Pickens when he's the most physical cornerback we have now. But let's just put Mike Jackson on him because why not? That's funny. So we're probably just going to put Trey Brown or Mike Jackson on Marquise Brown, and Marquise Brown is probably just going to bomb us for 75-yard touchdowns because who needs to put our best corners on their best wide receivers? Nah.
Exactly.
So yeah, Seattle's probably going to choke this. Gino's probably going to throw like a pick six or something to lose the game. Um, the more that changes, the more that stays the same, and Seattle collapses again late season when we were 6-3, cruising along, and then that 4 game stretch just absolutely murdered us. Should have won that Rams game. Should have won the Bengals game. Should have won the Cowboys game. And now here we are. We should have won the Steelers game. And here's the consequences for your actions, Seattle. Hope you like sitting on the couch the whole playoffs again.
Yep. Sounds like my team too. Um, that entire storyline actually. Next up, Kansas City Chiefs at the Chargers. Chiefs are sitting their starters. Give me the Chargers.
Yeah, nothing to really stay there.
Uh, Los Angeles Rams at the 49ers. The Rams, interestingly enough, are actually sitting their starters. So give me the 49ers.
Yeah, I just feel like the 49ers probably have better depth. It's basically two versus twos because we'll probably hear that the 49ers are resting most of their starters or at some point during the half bench everyone because they're going to have like 2 weeks off or a week off,
Yeah. Well,
whatever.
that's the thing though, is like most teams don't want the 2 weeks off because history speaks like if they bench their players and they get the 2 week, they get too lazy.
Yeah.
So
Or they get
they'll
rusty
probably
and then
they'll
that
probably play
first
him for a
half.
quarter for a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So with San Fran, they'll probably have a quarter or a half. They'll probably give them enough of a lead where the twos for Los Angeles aren't be able to do enough to get them back into it. So going with San Fran.
yeah. Moving on, we got the Cowboys taking on the Commanders. Give me the Cowboys. They'll collapse. They'll collapse in the playoffs, but not now.
Tyler, I'm going for the funny pick to lose the division on the final day of the year in one of the final games of the year when they could win it. Washington is going to go out with a fight because why not? And why not Dallas collapsing on the road?
Yeah.
Here we go again.
That I mean, it is funny. I do see it happening, but I'm trying to preserve this pick, man. They're not the pick, the record. I'm trying to stay under 100 losses
I'm already at
or
100
100
losses,
wrong
so
picks.
screw it. Let's have fun.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least, we got the Bills taking on Miami. I, I don't know why, but Stefon Diggs has done nothing for like 3 months. But I'm calling it. Breakout game when he's needed the most. Bills win it on like a last second score.
So Miami's back at home. They got absolutely clobbered last week. Buffalo struggled against the Patriots. Um, it's a tough one because Buffalo needs this game to basically go to the playoffs. It's basically unless like three teams lose, there's a combination that Buffalo can maybe slide in, but it's very, very slight. Uh,
Yep.
I feel like that 12 men on the field is going to cost them this year. And this is when, because they're going to be one game out of the playoffs. I'm going Miami.
It cost them the Vikings game last year, even though it wasn't called. They still lost. They couldn't beat us with an extra guy on the field. Um, but yeah, I'm picking Buffalo. I don't know why. I just like Miami has played well, but they haven't really beaten good teams. They beat the Cowboys,
Now,
but
let me
the
ask you
Cowboys
this real
also
quick.
can't beat good teams, except they beat Detroit with the help of the refs. So my point still stands.
All right, I want to go down a couple teams real quick. If they do not make the playoffs, some have already been eliminated, but if they don't, will they get fired? Sean McDermott first with the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, absolutely not.
Um, what's his name? Crud. Oh, what's the
Ron
Commanders?
Rivera.
Yeah, Ron Rivera.
Um, I hope he doesn't. I still think he's a good coach, but they probably will fire him this season.
Uh, Bill Belichick.
I think he's already out. He's going to be on a new team though, so I mean,
I feel like it's really going to depend on this game. If Belichick somehow blows them like the 2-3 pick, I think Kraft will get him out. Um, Scanning.
and that's another reason why I picked the Patriots to beat the Jets because Belichick is going to coach those guys up so hard to beat the Jets.
Uh, Arthur Smith with the Falcons.
No, I don't see him getting fired.
I forgot who the New Orleans coach is, but whoever that guy is.
I think he's another Allen, Dennis Allen.
I I don't know like
I don't
between
know.
Tampa Bay and New Orleans. Who is Tampa
Um,
Bay's coach?
Bowles.
Yeah, Bulls.
Um, I don't think either of those coaches get fired.
Honestly, if New Orleans does not make it, I could see the scenario. Like if they completely collapse against Atlanta, I could see it. If they win and just don't make it, I could see them staying.
Yeah,
If Bulls loses to the Panthers on the final game of the season to get to the playoffs, I could see that being a firing.
I could as well, but also it depends on how Baker plays. But I mean, like I feel like they've exceeded expectations. So I don't know, but also they've wasted so many good years of well, not really because they brought in Tom Brady, but like
Do
you
you
just think
think
about
Zach
all
Taylor's job is in
uh,
danger?
why they just blame it all on Joe Burrow being
Yeah,
injured.
that's fair. I
So
don't. There's times I'm like, what does Zach Taylor do? And there's some, like, there was some games with Jake Brown. It's Jake Browning, right?
yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was getting the first name right. Um,
Hmm.
where he played really well, and it's I don't know if because one is just the talent they have at the wide receiver position is really good.
Yep.
Jamar Chase, stud.
T.
Um,
Higgins, stud.
stud. A lot of those guys are great players, and it's I wouldn't go all the way to the 49ers position of you could put any quarterback in because there's still like you don't have the tight end. Mixon is on or off of whether he's good or not. Um, there's some games like Mixon is an absolute beast, and there's some games it's like, did he even play? Uh,
Right.
but I feel like it's really close where that is a good system. Now, Joe Burrow makes that squad complete. It hides a lot of the flaws. We saw that going to the Super Bowl. It's just the Rams were too much on defense that year. All I really have to say, there's not really anybody else because either they've already been fired or
There's been talks of Robert Saleh being fired from the Jets, but I really hope that doesn't happen either. Or if it does, I hope he comes to the Vikings.
I think. Oh, well, hold on. I think it was about 2 weeks ago that the owner's already come out and said that he's given the vote of confidence for the GM and Robert Saleh to stay for another year,
Oh, good.
just because of Aaron Rodgers probably coming back next year. I think
Yeah.
they're just saying they didn't have the quarterback. They have another year of bringing the squad more together. Um, get another draft pick in because they keep their first round because Rodgers did not play um,
Hmm.
0.1% of the snaps. Like that was
Yeah. And then here's the last part. Here's the one coach I hope does stay, despite lots of history telling you he won't.
Vegas.
Antonio Pierce on the Raiders.
Yeah.
Yep. I know he's an interim. I hope. Will it be history if he's hired as a head coach after this year?
I'm not sure about the actual history of it, but
It might be
specifically for the
Raiders
Raiders.
history. I was gonna say it might be Raiders history. So
But just knowing the recent past with the Raiders, they usually do not keep their interim coaches. Um, we
I
saw
think
that with
this year should
McDaniels.
be
We saw that with
completely
Gruden.
different.
Um,
He's done a master
yeah.
class with
Well,
that
even the
team.
year that Gruden got fired, they still went to the playoffs with all their flaws. Um,
Yep.
it's just I would love to see him stay just because of how he's gotten that squad to work. They have honestly the Raiders are a really good team if they can just get that quarterback. If they can move
Hmm.
around some pieces that still keeps that core intact, like Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams and who's the guy on the defensive line?
Max Crosby.
Max Crosby. If he, like that,
You obviously didn't play the Raiders this year, else you'd know Max Crosby very well.
this is fair. I know who he is. It's just I'm not great
Dude,
with names.
talk about the one being the most underrated guy possible, or maybe underrated is not the right word. The most least known possible guy at your position
Underappreciated.
to be the best. If we're talking top tier edge rushers, nobody brings up Max Crosby, but you know who's a top tier edge rusher? Max Crosby.
If if the Raiders were in playoff contention, I could see that just because of how bad they've been this year. Only reason. Um,
Dude, he is just as good as some of the premier players that we talk about all the
yeah.
time. Like
And
he is so underrated.
there's some players that we talked about at the beginning of the year that we really haven't heard from
Hmm.
near the end. Max Crosby's been killing it all year.
Yep.
But that's a team where they got their running back, they got their wide receivers. They have a decent tight end, I believe, still. That defense probably needs a couple pieces to bring in, but I feel like you could bring some free agents in, sure it up a bit more. That defense is still good enough to get win you some games. Because I feel like that offense is enough where that defense can get just enough stops or that one or two stops you need in that game where the offense could score enough points to have a good quarterback. Because Devontae
Yeah.
Adams just needs a good quarterback. Like we saw with Carr last year, it just didn't really work. The squad just really wasn't there. Doesn't
Yeah.
help. McDaniels is also is a fraud of a coach. Well,
Hmm.
I can't talk, but I feel like if Pierce can stay, you bring in a good quarterback, which I don't think the Raiders are going to have that high of a pick. They're probably what are they in the top tens?
If they beat Denver, then and we lose, they move up and we move down. So
Where are they at right now? Do you have the?
I think they're at like 10 or 11.
So that's around the part where you could probably get Jane Daniels, Bo Nix, or Penix. Um, because I probably see Drake May and um, Williams getting drafted top 5, if not top 10. Um,
Yeah.
but I just feel like the Raiders are 1 to 2 pieces away from being right there. I just
Hmm.
feel like they've needed the coach for the longest time now because past few coaches have not been good. Gruden, I don't believe he was that great. McDaniels, we know how he goes. Um,
Yeah.
I just feel like Antonio Pierce has done such a great job keeping that squad together with Mullins as your quarterback. Imagine if you get him a good rookie like Bo Nix behind that squad. Because you and me were talking earlier that Bo Nix needs a scheme for him.
Hmm.
Having him Devonte Adams and Jacoby Myers out there, I think could be enough where you can scheme it together where there's not a lot of cornerbacks in the league that can um, cover Devonte Adams. He's going to be
Correct.
there whenever you need a catch.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see when the draft gets here. We're still a long way from that, but just a few thoughts.
Yeah. Well, cool. A week we don't really care about too much. Um, but yeah, that's what we got for you. And we will see you guys next week, and we'll try and figure out when we're going to stream a game.
Sounds good.
So, honestly, I'm hoping for that Cleveland Baltimore matchup.
If Cleveland Baltimore matches up, we will be doing that one, unless there's a
That's
one
my hope.
better.
What what matchup is better than that unless your team's in it?
I need to look. I have not looked at the playoffs enough to actually see who's facing who.
Dude, I don't care. I want the Browns to win the Super Bowl.
That doesn't mean that there's not going to be a better matchup.
I know, but dude, Joe Flacco revenge story against Baltimore. I mean, not revenge, but like against
The only
it's with
reason
the team
Baltimore
he's
does not
beaten
go to the
so many
Super Bowl,
times.
the only reason Baltimore does not go to the Super Bowl is because of Joe Flacco.
Right. I
That would have
mean,
been funny if Baltimore faded on the first or the first seed, or even just the division with the Browns taking in Joe Flacco leading the way.
mhm.
Because I don't know if the Browns could have even gotten the first seed with Miami, but we'll see what happens.
We shall. All right. Well, that'll about do it for us. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see y'all next week.
Peace.